This is the story of a young boy named Davin, who faced challenges right from the moment he entered the world. His parents didn't show him the love he deserved. It's like they wished he was someone else, especially their other son named Kajin. See, Kajin was born at the exact same time as Davin, and he was favoured by the mighty sword god Keshak. People marvelled at Kajin's blessed body and his remarkable talents. Davin's mum secretly wished he could be more like Kajin. She and his dad were disappointed in Davin, mainly because he was missing his right arm. His mother would say hurtful things to him, even suggesting he should just disappear. Imagine being told that by your own mom. Davin didn't understand why they treated him this way, but he knew he didn't want to give up on life. Before he was even born, his dad had thought Davin would be their hope. They had dreams for him, hoping he'd surpass his own uncle. You see, his dad couldn't beat his older brother, and he wanted Davin to be better. But fate had other plans. Davin came into the world with only one hand, and without the blessing of a god, shattering all of his dad's hopes. While Kajin was joyfully playing and taking his first steps, Davin struggled just to stand up. He watched Kajin confidently wield a blade, while Davin could barely hold one. It must have been tough for Davin. His parents' disappointment must have felt really heavy. They even sent him away to be Kajin's assistant, but deep down, they had actually sold him for a large amount of money. As they grew up, Kajin continued to be a thorn in Davin's side. Kajin took advantage of Davin's vulnerability and treated him poorly. It's like Kajin had it out for Davin from the start. Davin had to swallow his tears and endure it all. He wished the adults around him would step in and help, but they turned a blind eye. Davin's uncle, who was once amazing, had vanished from their lives. Without him, there was no one to guide Kajin or keep him in check. So Kajin became a bossy figure, bossing everyone around. He was stronger, more talented, and had the blessing of the sword god. Kajin faced off against his rival Davin. The crowd was buzzing with excitement, eager to witness the clash of strength and skill. Kajin's eyes narrowed as he caught a glimpse of Davin's jealous expression. He didn't like the way Davin looked at him, like he was some kind of show-off. Davin was determined, his eyes locked onto Kajin. He had worked hard for this moment, day after day, trying to prove himself. Kajin felt a surge of anger, a fire burning inside him. He couldn't bear to be seen as weak by someone who had no right to judge. "Hey, Davin," Kajin said, his voice firm. "You can work hard all your life, but you'll never match my strength." Davin's face tightened, his determination evident. He wanted to win, really wanted to, but he knew deep down that hard work alone might not be enough. Kajin was powerful, and Davin had to find another way to bridge the gap. As the battles raged on, Davin's efforts remained consistent, while Kajin began to slip. The fame and success got to his head, leading him down a dangerous path of alcohol and drugs. Still, no matter how many times Davin challenged him, he couldn't beat Kajin. It was like Kajin was some sort of genius, effortlessly holding his ground. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. Who is the most badass Manhwa character? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. But Davin was clear on one thing. Their positions wouldn't stay the same forever. Despite countless defeats, Davin never gave up. He remembered the mocking voices, the jeers of those who called him talentless, and he used those taunts as fuel, pushing himself harder. Then, one fateful day, it happened. In the middle of a heated exchange, Davin found himself with the upper hand. He landed a blinding blow, then swiftly delivered the final strike. Kajin was defeated, and the arena erupted in cheers for Davin. It was a moment of triumph, a moment that Davin had dreamed of for so long. Kajin couldn't bear the taste of defeat. As Davin walked away, he remembered the evil words of his parents, the disdainful looks they gave him. With a rush of anger and desperation, Kajin thrust his sword through Davin's chest from behind. The crowd fell silent, shocked by the sudden turn of events. Davin, despite his victory, was in a dire state. He was tied up and felt like he was in some sort of nightmarish hell. A mysterious figure in a mask appeared before him, revealing that the miraculous Saint Layla had intervened, saving his life. Davin's body was broken, but he was breathing, alive against all odds. The masked figure questioned Davin about a supposed contract with the devil. Davin was taken aback by the accusation, denying any involvement. The figure claimed that Davin's parents had confessed, and evidence of the contract was found in his family's home. Bottles of Davin's blood, supposedly for the devil's contract, were discovered, painting a grim picture. Davin was stunned. Accused of sacrificing innocent children to gain strength, he was sentenced to a life of imprisonment, his magical abilities locked away by powerful enchantments. Chains clanked and sinews were cut, sealing his manner and hopes. Within the grim confines of his prison, Davin's days grew bleak and monotonous. One day, a visitor arrived, a triumphant Kajin, who had risen to become a revered sword emperor. The world celebrated him as a prodigious talent and a hard-working genius. Irony twisted the knife deeper, as Kajin thanked Davin for being the catalyst behind his accomplishments. With a cruel laugh, Kajin left behind meagre sustenance and departed. As time stretched on, the meagre rations dwindled until they ceased altogether. Hunger gnawed at Davin's belly, and desperation clawed at his spirit. The weight of his situation pressed down, and Davin began to question the value of his continued existence. He pondered whether meeting his end in the arena might have been a nobler fate than this slow, agonizing deterioration. In his weakest moments, Davin's mind wandered. What if he had both his arms intact? Could his life have taken a different path? He mused about the distant possibility of being born into a direct lineage, blessed by the favour of the sword god. These thoughts swirled in his mind like leaves caught in a tempest, teasing him with what might have been. Davin's resolve, though tested, remained unbroken. Despite the impending grasp of death, he clung to life with every ounce of strength he had left. And then, in a surreal twist, he found himself awakening once more. The world around him was different, yet familiar. A name, Vincent, drifted to his ears, and a face he couldn't quite place held his right arm. Before him stood an adult. Confusion knitted Davin's brow as he tried to reconcile his fragmented memories. Why had he been called Vincent? Was this some sort of dream? Vincent, the seventh son of Adankaga, was his new identity. The air itself felt fresher, unlike the dank prison air he had grown accustomed to. A jolt of surprise ran through Davin as his right arm was grasped. Suddenly an attack came, a painful infusion of mana. Instinct took over, and Davin pushed his mysterious companion away. The distance achieved surprised even him, as he hadn't expected his weakened state to muster such strength. Quickly he apologized, stammering that his actions were not intentional. As Davin's heart pounded, he watched the guy rise from his seat, his face turning red with anger. With a scowl, the guy pointed a finger at Davin and began to speak in a voice full of fury. He warned Davin that his son would rise up with unrelenting power, crushing him without mercy. It would mark the first time the filial family would overcome the main family, a devastating blow that would forever alter their fate. The guy's threats hung heavy in the air as he stormed away, leaving behind a chilling promise. Wait for the day of the assembly of the real sorts, he spat, his words dripping with venom. Doubt gnawed at Davin's mind, questioning the reality of the situation. Could this be a dream? If so, shouldn't he have awoken by now? Memories, like ripples in a pond, began to flood Davin's thoughts. His mother's passing, a tragic event, occurred shortly after his birth. His father, seemingly indifferent, had never shown him any affection. The other children, cruel and heartless, treated him as if he were dirt beneath their shoes. A sigh escaped Davin's lips as he faced a harsh reality. The once respected Davin from the Samian family had morphed into the insignificant mention of the Adenka family. Yes, he had been reincarnated, transformed into Vincent, a name that carried little significance. Confusion clouded his mind as he pondered how this transformation had occurred. In the midst of his contemplation, Davin stumbled upon a dusty diary. It had once been a source of his self-loathing, a reflection of his shattered self-esteem. In those pages, he had surrendered to despair, convinced that even the heavens had abandoned him. The pages whispered tales of his desire to find purpose, to live life to the fullest. As Davin's fingers traced the pages of the diary, a sudden realization struck him like lightning. What had become of the original Vincent? His thoughts drifted, and then a voice pierced through the silence, jolting him from his reverie. Suspicion crept in as he contemplated the source of the voice. Was it a demon, attempting to deceive him? After all, his reincarnation was a phenomenon that shouldn't have occurred. But as the voice continued to speak, Davin recognized it as the true owner of the body he inhabited. The original Vincent, whose identity had been merged with his own, now spoke to him. As the original Vincent relinquished his name, Davin felt an odd sensation, an identity shift. From that moment on, the god he was talking to would be known as Julian. Davin's mind buzzed with newfound clarity as Julian unravelled a revelation, a gift bestowed upon humans by the gods. Blessed souls from birth could hear this divine whisper, a revelation that marked them as chosen. Julian's heart swelled with the knowledge that he was more than he had ever realized, a potential god of lesser stature. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Julian revealed that his original intent had been to embrace a higher spiritual existence, yet circumstances had led him down a different path. He had chosen to crawl, to embrace a lesser existence. But now, with this revelation, the path forward seemed clearer. Davin, now Julian, felt the weight of his destiny pressing upon him. He longed to transcend his limitations and ascend to become a true god, not confined to the realm of lesser beings. Julian has a special task, a calling, that can turn him into a true god. But there's a twist. Vincent doesn't seem too interested in Julian's achievements. He's got a new life to live, busy with adventures and excitement. You might think being a ghost is cool, but Julian's got a problem. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.